This may be the craziest week we have ever seen in the world of AI. And that is not only because GPT 5.6 came out, that has almost got levels as good as Fable 5. That is good, that is amazing, but really not what we have to talk about today. And it's also not because OpenAI is putting the freaking work in to get themselves new inference chips. OpenAI and Broadcom unveil LLM optimized inference chip. Again, that is amazing. That's super good, but not it. And it's also not, oh my days, it's also not because we had GLM come in, another model from China, that all of a sudden was basically as good as Opus 4.8, but runnable on your own computer because it's basically open. No, that was all amazing and it all adds, but it's actually a detail that I'm going to say is going over most people's heads right now. And it's actually this right here. It's actually a combination of 3 tweets, but I think by looking at this right here, you can kind of see where I'm going. And that's that the world is shifting. A pretty massive shift is happening right now as we speak, mostly because a lot of power is going to be going to China, which is partially what I already just mentioned in my intro. And let's quickly read as to why, because a lot is happening. So first, let's preface this by saying OpenAI announced their GPT 5.6 with 3 different models, all named after cryptocurrencies that fell by $100 billion or more, which is kind of funny to see things that collapse by pretty crazy parts, show up in ChatGPT or OpenAI. Pretty interesting. Regardless, that's not really what we're here for, because GPT 5.6 is good. It's not that good, but it's good, right? It's out there. It's like close to Fable 5, and on some of their numbers it's even better than Fable 5, but realistically it's not. Here you can actually see that from these official numbers, it's not there, all right? The best of what GPT has to offer is not as good as Mythos. And the reason I like that to be covered here, and I think is quite essential, is because this was OpenAI's big way to get back, and they couldn't. Now, that's cool. Why am I making this video? Take a look at this tweet that I was covering before. Since June 12th, this is Anthropic, we've been working closely with the US government to restore access to Claude Mythos 5 and Fable 5. Today, the government notified us that Mythos 5, our strongest cybersecurity model, can be redeployed to a set of US organizations that operate and defend critical infrastructure. We're restoring access for these organizations quickly, and we're continuing to work with the government to expand access to Mythos 5 and make Fable 5 available for general use again. So what they've basically done right here as it stands is they have right now said, if you're not on the approved US government list of companies, you're not getting proper AI anymore. And the reason this is so scary is because as it currently stands, Anthropic is at the top of their game. They literally have got the best of the best. And China is getting close. I mean, China's numbers are staggering. They're getting close. But they're not as good. And even in the US with ChatGPT, they couldn't get there. And so the best thing that we have ever received, we ever had access to, is now only going to be able to be used by select US companies. And I wouldn't really care if that was the original announcement, just like how GPT here said, you know what, we want to release it to everybody, but at the start, a couple of massive institutions approved by the US will get it. I think that's a better way to put it, even though it's the same thing. Because right now what's basically being said is these companies in the US are not going to let you and I, if you're not based in the US, that is, or an individual, get access to the good stuff no more. And here's the crazy thing. This, in my opinion, means the better AI is getting right now, the more capabilities that it's got, the less we're going to get. So the rich companies, and this is not about rich, it's just about importance or connections or lobbying, whatever, they can get access to the good stuff, become richer, become wealthier, get better, while all of us, we can't. Now, of course, that's always been this way when it comes to trading. If you got more money, you got better systems. Bloomberg's terminal for trading is obviously $30,000 a year. If you don't got the money for that, you're at a disadvantage, sure. So I get that money has always bought better things, and money can be used to make money. Influence can be used to get more influence and make more money, sure. But at this point, it's kind of weird, especially because we always got the same type of stuff. Mythos originally being for the companies, for cybersecurity stuff, I also got. But we got access to it for a few days and then the government banned it. Well, essentially all that's doing is telling other companies to make sure that they develop at their A game, because they can't, well, can definitely not rely on just getting access from major providers in the US. And essentially, the whole of China right now got the green light of, you know what, you guys provide for the rest of the world. The US will only do for the US. And Miles said this: Trump and the US government just handed China the easiest win in the AI race. 60% of companies are already rerouting their AI spend towards cheaper open source models, and most of the best ones are Chinese, like Qwen, DeepSeek, GLM, and Kimi. Huge Kimi, but regardless. US frontier models are now being gate-kept by the government and priced at a premium for only marginal gains in intelligence. You know what's actually funny about this situation? That you can actually get yourself US frontier models like ChatGPT or Anthropics by going through these Chinese websites and buying tokens for them at a discount. And by the way, there's a lot of people doing that, but I don't want to discuss that too much. To be fair, this is generally a hard spot for the US. On the one hand, you want America to lead AI innovation, especially so that you as the government can have access. But you also want the most powerful model secured and controlled for national security reasons. The problem is that those two goals are now directly at odds. Every restriction placed on US frontier models makes the open source alternative more attractive. And at least for now, and this is really crazy to me, the best open source alternatives aren't American. Going to be very interesting to watch things play out from here. And here you can see UBS says 60% of companies now watching AI budgets are moving to cheaper models and open source Chinese models. The pressure is coming from extreme bills, including users spending up to $35,000 a month and teams exceeding quotas by 200%, yada, yada, yada. Of course, AI was in a really interesting spot from the company perspective. But damn, this basically now means the race is now on for whether or not you and I and every other non-American, I guess, or even just normal Americans, because right now we're talking about companies getting access, select companies. What about the normal people? And so this means that if you eventually want to use AI, this is my thoughts, you're going to have to verify your ID and make sure that everything you say, by the way, memory is getting great too, is being sent back to a server so that they know exactly who. I don't want to be that conspiracy theorist type of thinking here. I just want to share what exactly I'm seeing. Is that they're going to be very selective with who gets access to what good stuff. And I just don't think the internet was built for this purpose, to make sure we selectively give access to information to people from specific countries. It's like the internet. All of a sudden, you can't access most of the internet if you're from a specific country. Like, well, that is crazy. If we're talking about specific banking websites, or hey, you know what? If we're talking about another model specifically with these vulnerabilities in place and things, I can get behind that. Like we saw with Mythos and Fable, the distinction, right? To make sure that some companies had access to the best, and some others had access to, well, things a little bit gated because of security risks. All good. But that model is better, and we can't make the safety rails good enough, so only a select few Americans can have access to it? Nah. So, as of this point, it basically seems like China is winning the race for AI. And I don't know what the orange man, Mr. Trump, is doing over here with all this. I mean, we've seen it now with ChatGPT, we've seen it now with Anthropic. I really wonder what the next move is going to be. But of course, I'm paying very close attention because, well, GPT 5.6, we can't have access to it yet because the US government is vetting it. What a world to live in, guys. What a world to live in. But yeah, if you got some opinions, let them know down below what you think. And you can join our free AI school down below. It's only 11 people in there. Make sure you join. Why not? It's not too active just quite yet, but we'll get there as more people roll on in. So if you want to be a founding member, just join quickly. Link is down below. It's absolutely free, of course. And I'll see you guys again in another one.